Hey friends, Benjamin here with Lean Strong Fitness and Wellness, and I'm excited to be doing this video for you around how to set resolutions that stick. So before we dive in, this is intended to be a workshop, not just like a webinar. So please take a second, pause this video if needed, and grab yourself a sheet of paper. It can just be blank paper and a pen or a pencil, because there's going to be some parts in here where I'm going to say, hey, pause the video and do this exercise. Now you're going to intuitively be like, yeah, I'll get to it. But doing the exercise is going to help you get a lot more out of this and to make better progress towards your goals. So let's dive in. So here's what we're going to be covering today. First, we're going to be talking about the problem with goals and goal setting done in the traditional sense. And I've got some potentially controversial thoughts on this, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Second, we're going to talk about the 4 keys to success with what I consider to be effective goal setting. Third, we're going to be helping you build a 5-year vision for your life. Fourth, we're going to be helping you with getting really clear on 1-year goals for your life. And this is, I should pause here for a second. Obviously, I'm taking these fitness lens at this, but as you'll see by finishing this video, this model works for all types of goals, whether they're fitness goals or not. So that's worth keeping in mind. And last but not least, we're going to talk about, second last but not least, we're going to talk about giving you a framework to be able to determine what's working and what's not, so you can adjust your goals accordingly. And then lastly, we're going to be working on what are the daily actions you need to get to your goals. And this is one of my favorite graphics of all time on the internet of what people think success looks like, this beautiful straight line. Oh, if I lost a pound a week this week, I'll lose a pound a week. Lose a pound of fat this week, I'll lose a pound of fat the next week, I'll lose a pound of fat the next week. And in 6 months, I'll be down 26 pounds of fat. It never works quite that way. It's more like this chaotic squiggly line that looks like somebody's kid hijacked the pen partway through drawing it. But that's really important to keep in mind because there's always going to be stumbling blocks on the way to your goals. And I think intellectually we all understand that. But deep down, when we hit that, trough, I think sometimes we beat ourselves up a little bit too much and give ourselves a harder time than we rightfully should. So keep this squiggly success diagram in mind as you're on the path to your goals. So let's talk about the problem with goals. This is how we usually start when it comes to attacking our goals. We are this little kid who is just like fired up, ready to take on the world. And then as time passes, we end up feeling like we got our butt kicked a little bit. And, back to the previous slide with this squiggly line is one of the problems that I see often with goals is not that they're unrealistic, but the combination of the goal and how it fits with the rest of your life is just an unrealistic lift to be able to make. It's just such a huge ask. It's like if you're really busy in life and career is going and you've got other things that fire you up, it's really hard to be like, hey, I'm going to work out twice a day, 6 days a week, and only eat vegetables and water and protein. And you're just like biting off a lot more than you can chew. And this can happen in all sorts of goals, careers, etc. But it's like if you were 3 weeks into a new job, you wouldn't be mad that you're not getting a promotion yet. But when it comes to fitness, it's something where, well, it would make sense you didn't get that promotion because you haven't developed that skill set yet. But then in fitness, it's like, oh, well, I want to be there faster. And we often forget that the path to our goals is actually about building skills. And I like to use the analogy that it's like building a house. If I hire a general contractor who's been building houses for 30 years and he comes in to build my house, day one, he's going to show up with, he or she, he's going to show up with like the right tools, the right people, the right permits, the right everything. If the average person is like, hey, I'm going to build a house, like we might have to start by going to Home Depot and buying a saw and learning how to use it. And it's a lot of time will happen between learning how to use those tools and breaking ground. Fitness is the same way. You have to remind yourself that for a lot of us, we're still in the like skill development stage, not in the breaking ground stage. So we have a move-in ready house. So some food for thought. But part of that problem with goals is we start super amped up like this guy. We're relying basically on motivation. We don't have the skills, we don't have the habits, we don't have the discipline built yet, and we end up getting our butt kicked a little bit. So it's not like it's wrong, and I still want to encourage people like to still set goals, but there's something to be said about having some having some self-love as you're working on this path. I love a stretch goal, but I don't love a goal that sets you up for failure, because not only do you want to quit on that type of thing, like let's say at fitness, you're not just giving up on your fitness goal, you might be giving up on fitness as a whole, and that's detrimental. So we're going to do goal setting a little bit differently. And for me, there's 4 keys to success. But this is tying it back to the skill piece. This is a quote from someone who I really admire, is if there's something you want, you haven't achieved yet, it's either a skill gap, a belief gap, or both. If there's something you want, you haven't achieved yet, it's either a skill gap, a belief gap, or both. You might not have the skills to build that house, but there also might be an element of a lack of belief that you even can build that house. And if you're going to be successful on the path to any goals, you need the combination of skills and belief. So here's how we do that. One of the keys to success is making sure your goals are supported by a really powerful why. Across the board, I've seen it. This is 15 years in fitness, I think, for me. The people who come in and are like, oh my God, I had this life event happen. My family member just had a heart attack, or someone close to me got diagnosed with diabetes, and we have the same lifestyle. I want to be there for my grandkids. I need to make a change. That person usually does make change because that goal is really, really important to them. They have a powerful why. On the other side of the equation, if it's like, I could lose a few pounds, but it doesn't really matter that much. It's not really that powerful a why. And often it takes time and effort to dig deep and really figure out what is the why that motivates you. It's not going to be this top of mind thing of like, I want to be leaner, I want to be fitter, I want to have more money, whatever. It takes some time and self-reflection, which we're going to do today, to dig into what your why truly is so you can keep it front of mind. The next piece when it comes to setting a goal is I believe that it needs to be a stretch goal. And to me, the perfect stretch goal is a goal that, with the right support systems and skill building practices in place, you can hit it, but it's still enough of a stretch that it wasn't going to happen naturally. It needs to take a little bit of effort to get to that goal, because that gives that amazing feeling of accomplishment. Third, to support that goal, there has to be daily actions to build skills, also known as habits, that are going to get you to your goal. So for example, if you wanted to get stronger, you don't just have the goal of, I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to go to the gym. It's okay, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. And here's the program that I'm going to do. And here's the time of day that I'm going to go. And here's the person who's going to hold me accountable until this becomes enough of a routine that I'm going to naturally do that thing on a regular basis. And what I did there was very intentional, that we went multiple layers deep into those daily actions. It's not just, I'm going to go to the gym more, or I'm going to go 3 days a week. It's like, when are you going to go? How are you going to make sure you're going to go? Who's going to hold you accountable? Do you have the right program? What happens when that program starts to stall? You want to really make sure that you've pulled at that thread to get true daily action, so that you don't just end up crashing and burning a few weeks in. And last but not least is, if you want to make progress on your goal, you absolutely need to have momentum. And I'm going to talk more about this, but the best way to build momentum is to track wins in a visible way. And I'll give you my personal framework that I use to track wins later on in this video. But you want to become an unstoppable snowball of positive momentum, just moving down a hill, and nothing can stop you on the path to your goals. And that doesn't happen naturally, it happens intentionally. So first thing we're going to do is create a 5-year vision. And this is tying into the powerful why side of things. If you don't really know where you want to go, it's hard to set goals that are going to align with where that place is, or in this case, is not. So here's what a 5-year vision looks like. Now, this is kind of a quick and dirty version of this. I think there's better ways to do it, but for the purpose of this presentation, this will still get a lot of value. But if you're really interested in this process, please reach out to me and I can give you the whole kit and caboose for how it works. So you're going to pause this video in a couple minutes. You're going to spend 5 to 7 minutes writing, what does your life look like 5 years from now? So it's 5 years from today's date. You want to make sure you're writing in the present tense. So it's not, I will live in a house wherever, or I will have these type of fitness attributes. It's going to be like, it is today and I have that thing. You're also going to completely ignore the how. Don't worry about how you're going to get there yet. This is just, what do you want? You have permission to dream and aspire for whatever lights you up for greatness. You also want to be writing down, what do you do and how do you feel, including emotion words. So these would be things like, I feel happy, I'm excited about this, I love that I get to do that, I'm fulfilled by these things. It's not just a bullet point list of like items that you've collected 5 years from now. It's really like you transporting yourself 5 years in the future and like creating that life that you want. I do think this 5-year vision, because you don't want to be like, I'm going to live on a space base on the moon. Like, well, probably not. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it should kind of align with a stretch goal. And to do that, it should be a little bit exciting and a little bit scary. And it's really important to be as detailed as you can with this. So as an example, when I was working with someone on this exercise a couple years ago, he was visioning and he was very clear. He's like, I want to live on a house in a fjord on Norway with 2 German shepherds. And this is what my house looks like. This is how far it is to walk to the nearest coffee shop. This is what I do on a daily basis. And this was not somebody who lives in Norway. This was someone in continental United States who wants to live in a fjord in Norway. Didn't know how he's going to get there, but he painted a really precise picture of what that future for him looked like. So again, be as detailed as you can, even if you know the color of your house, and what the smells and the scents and the things you see are. And because this can be a little bit of a challenging exercise, I want to give you some prompts. So if you're not sure what to write about, here's some prompts. Relationships. Who are the most important people in your life? What do you do with them? What fills you up about those relationships? Fitness. What kind of shape are you in? Do you go to the gym? Do you walk? Do you do yoga? Do you do all the above? Do you work out at night? Do you work out in the morning? Do you have a home gym? Do you drive to the gym? What do you do with your time? How are you spending it? What do you like to do? What's your financial situation? And you don't have to share any of this with anybody, so please write this for you because it's completely confidential to you. No one's going to look at your work. And this is a video, so I'm not going to make you share it with the group. What's your financial situation like? How much money are you making on a yearly basis? Are you retired? Where are your investments at? How much do you have in savings? Do you give to charity? Are you planning for your grandkids' future? Are you planning for retirement? It's up to you. What kind of work do you do? That could be both like volunteer work as well as career work, as well as hobbies that you are passionate about. You want to be really clear about where you live, what do you do during your time there? Do you live on a farm? Do you live on a fjord in Norway? And lastly is leisures. What are the activities that you're passionate about and who do you do these with? So you don't actually have to do it like bullet points, but these are some of the prompts. So to get started here, the first sentence you're going to write is, it is the date, 5 years in the future. So the day I'm recording this, it's January 26, 2029. I wake up in the morning and I feel blank. So pause the video here, set a timer for 5 to 7 minutes. Do not take your pen off that paper and see where you get to. I'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, so visioning is powerful, right? And I will say that if you didn't find it super powerful, it does take a little bit of time to get good at it. It's really hard to imagine what your future looks like, especially if you're dealing with some challenging stuff right now. And there is something to be said for training your body and training your brain to be able to get into a state of unrelenting optimism and a growth mindset. So if you're feeling stuck, I'd actually encourage you to do this visioning exercise probably like every 3 months, because this is a muscle that you just need to train. And if that muscle's weak and you train it, it'll get strong and you'll get better about it and better at creating your vision. So next up, I'd like you to pause and reflect. Take a look at the vision that you've wrote down and just absorb it. And I want to know, and maybe you can make notes for this or kind of say it out loud to yourself, but what excites you about your 5-year vision the most? And what hesitations do you have? What scares you about it? What are the things you're like, well, I don't know if I'm worth it for that, or I don't know if I can do this thing. But it's really important for you to get in touch with your feelings to see, like, how does this make me feel? Because that's really going to be important for the next step. So if you need to, pause the video, and then when you're ready, we're going to move on to the next step, which is setting 1-year goals. So the way we're going to do this is actually the exact same structure as the visioning exercise. You're still going to pause this video, take 5 to 7 minutes. This is based on your 5-year vision, but I want to be really clear, it's not 1/5 of your vision. You don't want to say, I live on a house in a house on a fjord in Norway, 1 year from now, you're not going to live in 1/5 of a house on a fjord in Norway. The same way, if you want to have, 5 grandkids, 5 years from now, like you're not necessarily going to have one grandkid 1 year from now. It's not 20%. Again, make sure you're writing in the present tense. Include what you do and how you feel. Include lots of emotion words. Make yourself a little bit excited and a little bit scared. But the main difference here is include a bit of the how. This is where the vision is meant to be like your big, hairy, audacious goal of like, where do you want to go? And if you don't quite end up there, that's kind of okay as long as you get close. The 1 year goals are things that you want to get really specific with. So you're still going to use the same prompts, but you want to think, hey, I'm going to have, this much money in the bank. I'm going to work out this many times per week, which is times 52 is this many times per year. And this is where you might want to give a little bit of thought to, I'm going to work out at 6 a.m. or noon or 5 p.m. So include some of the how for this, because the next step is going to help make the rubber meet the road. So pause the video now, write for 5 to 7 minutes. Don't stop writing, pen and paper. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the 1 year goal setting. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better with it. I find people either fall into one of two camps. One is they really struggle with the 5-year vision because it's not real enough. Or the other camp is they struggle with the 1 year goal because they have a hard time projecting out 1 year. And it's one of those phenomenon that seems to happen with humans, which is we overestimate what we can do in 6 months, but we drastically underestimate what we can do in a year. So same thing, we're going to do a pause and reflection here. And if you're doing this with anybody, I encourage you to actually share with each other. That'd be really powerful. I want you to look at your 1 year goals and think, how much of a stretch does it feel like to get to those goals? Is it like doable if you get the right things in place? Is it like, I'm going to do this no matter what? Is it something that like, holy crap, the stars would have to align to make this real? How much does a stretch does it feel like? And then I'm also curious, what makes it feel doable or not doable? Why does it excite you? Why does it scare you? And give some thought to those things that might be either pushing you forward or holding you back. So take a moment to reflect and write down your answers for that as well, or share with someone if you're doing it with somebody else. So next up, I'm going to introduce a framework that's been really powerful for me and the people I've shared it with. I do want to say this is something I've been working on for many, many years. It's taken me a lot of time to make it this simple. So at first glance, if you're like, well, yeah, duh, that makes sense. The beauty of this is that it stays relatively simple. It also might not be perfect for you. Like there might be some things you're going to change, and that is totally cool. This is a framework I've developed for me that seems to work for the majority of people, but it's not intended to be me imposing this framework on your life. Take what works, discard the rest. So on your pen and paper, you're going to draw yourself a triangle. Just like this. You can make it blue if you like. And at each point of the triangle, those 3 points of the triangle represent the framework for your life. And there's 3 things we're going to be looking at. The first one is your health. Health is important to everybody. It's one of the top 3 values that, when we're asked, people say, yes, of course they value my health. The next one is going to be wealth. Of course, that's an important part of life. If you want to live in a modern first world country, it's very hard to do it without some sort of financial means. And lastly is love. And the word love is really a placeholder for the word relationship. I just like that these are all single syllable words rather than health, wealth, relationships. Too many syllables. Health, wealth, love makes it really easy to remember. And a good part of this framework success is due to the fact that it is easy to remember and easy to keep top of mind. So what I'd like you to do is draw this triangle and write health, wealth, love just at the points like it is here. And I'd like you to rate yourself on each of these 3 things. How do you think you're doing in your life right now? And there's 3 colors that you can rate it. Red, yellow, green, just like a traffic light. Red means I'm really having some problems right now and my life in this area just is not on track. Yellow is it's going okay, but like I'm not really giving it a lot of attention, or I don't think I'm going to get to my goals, but like it's not totally in the dumps. And green is everything is freaking awesome and this is going amazing. So again, red, not working, yellow, kind of working, green, going incredible. And give yourself a red, yellow, green for each one. So you should have a little circle or check mark in each color here, or if you just want to write R G, and Y, depending on the categories for you. If you don't have color markers, that's totally fine. Because for the next step, we're going to be flushing these out a little bit. So each of these three, health, wealth, and love, are also going to have three subcategories. And this is where you have permission to make these your own, but these are the ones that I personally use that resonate with me. So under your health, it's going to be your physical, your mental, and your emotional health. Physical is exactly as you'd expect. Are you happy with your body composition, your blood glucose monitors? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have high cholesterol? Are you happy with your physical health? Mental, self-explanatory. It's your mental health, an important area to look at. And emotional health, I think, is also very important to look at. So again, these are my three that I personally use. If you have one of these that, hey, emotional doesn't resonate with me, so I want to actually put in this other thing, that's totally fine. But don't have more than three categories for each corner of the triangle, or it gets too confusing and it just doesn't work. It seems to only work if you keep it simple. Next up is wealth. And wealth is these three things from here. It's, are you happy with your career? Are you doing something that aligns with your purpose and it's paying you a, generally speaking, an appropriate amount of money? Are you making enough money to live the life that you want to live? I think with income, it also comes into like, are you spending too much? If you make $1 million a year and you spend 2, you're probably more screwed than someone who makes 50 grand a year and only spends 40. And then the last piece of this is retirement. I don't personally believe in retirement in the, at least for myself, in the traditional sense where I'm going to, sit on a rocking chair and smoke cigarettes until the sun sets for me. But retirement is really like, do you have a financial plan so that you are able to say no and able to say yes to the things that you want to in the future, that it doesn't always have to be like, shit, I need the money for that. It's, I've got a cushion here if I need it. And again, these can be different for you, but those are the three ways I think about it. A career that aligns with my purpose. I'm making the income and spending the appropriate amount that I need to make. And I have a plan for the future that I don't have to work a job for the rest of my life if I don't feel like it. And last but not least is love. So these are my three categories again. It is family. So those are like blood relatives, especially immediate family. Friends, which goes without saying. We have friends in our lives. And for me, the third one is hobbies. Am I doing hobbies and things that I love and bring me joy? If you're religious, that you could replace hobbies an easy swap would be replacing hobbies with your relationship with God. I think that's a very important one. But love is kind of the category for how are the relationships in your life. So health is like, how are you physically, mentally, and emotionally as a human? Wealth is, are you on track and money's not holding you back? And love is, how are the relationships outside of your relationship with yourself? So just like we did in the last step, you're going to rate each of these 9 things, 3 per category, red, yellow, or green. And I do want to say it's very critical that you're honest with yourself about this. If you're saying, I'm going to put this as green because I think it's okay, but deep down you're like, man, this isn't something that I think is really going that well, this is for you. Please be honest with yourself. There's no right answer here. I'm recording this on a video. I can't even ask and get you to share. Be honest with yourself, because this is what we're going to work on in the next step. And if you're not honest with yourself, you're probably going to have a hard time hitting the goals that you want to hit. And that's why you're doing this video with me. So take a minute, pause the video if needed, red, yellow, green for all those 9 things. So then you should have a red, yellow, green for each of the main categories, plus 3 more red, yellow, greens for each category. So it's 4 ratings, 4 ratings, 4 ratings. Do that now. All right, so we've talked about creating a vision, we've talked about 1-year goals, and we've given you the framework. The next step is to create daily actions and habits to make sure that you actually get to your goal. So here's how it's going to work. You're going to pick 3 of the 9 areas to focus on. So each one of those main categories, health, wealth, love, had 3. You're going to pick up to 3 total of those subcategories. Don't pick more than 3. It's not going to work so well. Next, you're going to write, what do you need to strengthen in each one of those areas? So for instance, if you were a yellow or a red, let's go with red. You were a red for physical health. Like, what makes you a red? Is it that you've got debilitating knee or back pain? Is it that you run out of energy partway through the day? Is it that you're losing muscle mass or you have low bone density? Like you want to get clear on what's the thing that's making you red, because that's the thing that we're going to strengthen and turn into a daily action. Which I just got to, which those are what we're going to turn into daily actions. And the really important thing here is we're going to think of that health, wealth, love triangle as a stepping stool. And it's really important that health, wealth, and love, being the legs of the stepping stool, stay in balance. If two legs are really strong and one leg is really weak, the stepping stool breaks and it falls over. So I would argue that it's actually better to have yellow, yellow, yellow for health, wealth, and love than it is to be green, green, and bright red. That means there's going to be a weakness there. So the example is, an example you could think of is like, I probably, at least speaking for myself, I don't want to be offensive here, I don't want to be like super healthy, super jacked, super rich, and everybody hates me and I don't have a relationship with my family. I would be green for health, green for wealth, red for relationships. At the same time, I probably don't want to be, green for relationships, green for wealth. So I've got like lots of awesome people in my life and more money than I could ever spend. And I'm red for health and I'm actually stuck in the hospital and can't get to do anything I love or see any of the people I love. So the goal here is about balance. And what I want you to think about turning these daily actions into, turning these things into daily actions or habits is, an example is if physical is an area of focus for you and you've identified that you need to build muscle because you're getting weak and things are starting to hurt. What are those daily actions? So it could be like going to the gym 3 days a week. If it was a fat loss goal, it could be reducing your calorie intake. Maybe you're going to start by tracking your calories. Maybe you're trying to build up some cardiovascular capacity and overall health, and you're going to go for a walk. So there's no right or wrong answer for what these daily habits are. Obviously, for members of Lean Strong listening to this, you can obviously touch base with your coach if you want a little bit of help in figuring out, hey, what's the best plan of attack for this goal? But what we're really looking at, and there's the whole goal of this presentation and why I think goal setting needs to be done differently, is it's not just what are you going to do on your health, it's how does that fit with the rest of your life? Because if you work 2 jobs or you are taking care of a parent or grandkids, you're going to be limited on time. And the stepping stool needs to stay in balance. So sometimes you can't take something from a red to a green immediately. Sometimes it needs to slowly pass through yellow so that the rest of the stepping stool doesn't crumble, and that's totally okay. So again, pause this video if needed. You're going to pick 3 of those sub areas from health, wealth, and love that you want to focus on, up to 3, and you're going to determine what is one daily action that you can take that's going to improve each one. Go to the gym, save money in an envelope, reach out to loved ones that I haven't talked to. There's no wrong answer here, but what are the things that most resonate for you? And I want you to write those down on the triangle that you just drew. So next we're going to dig a little bit deeper into creating daily actions and habits. So I love the quote of what gets measured gets managed. And if we're going to have momentum and make progress with these goals, we need to have some sort of tracking system to see, 1, are you doing the thing you said you were going to do consistently? And 2, is that thing working and you're getting closer to the outcome you want to get to? Are you doing the thing and is the thing working? So it's really important to track what you do, I believe, on a daily basis. And the key here is that you're not tracking the outcome. So for instance, if I wanted to lose 10 pounds, which actually as I'm filming this video, I actually am in the process of losing 10 pounds, I'm not weighing myself every day because weighing myself doesn't dictate how much I weigh. The more I step on the scale doesn't mean I lose fat. Those two aren't related. The things that I am tracking, I'm going to show you in a minute, but it's the actions that I'm taking. If you've heard of the difference between process goals and outcome goals, we want to track process goals. So you want to figure out what are you going to track to see what's working. Then when it comes to tracking, here's the framework I like. So first, you can adjust the habits, aka daily actions, every 1 to 2 weeks as needed. So if you started by saying, I'm going to have a protein shake every day, 3 days in is too early to change whether or not the protein shake is working. The soonest I would change that action is 1 week. Maybe honestly, probably 2 weeks for stuff. And this helps us stay consistent for things. So you can adjust the actions you're taking every 1 to 2 weeks, but then you can adjust the focus that you're making every 1 to 2 months. So for instance, if I wanted to lose, I'll talk about my fat loss goal. I want to drop about 10 pounds. I definitely would benefit from it. I'm about 10 pounds heavier than I was a year ago. So there's a few things I could do. I probably need to reduce my calorie intake. I need to increase my protein intake. I need to do a bit more strength training, and I want to do a little bit more general activity. I don't want to start with 4 things at once. Again, we said 1 thing per category. So what I would start with is maybe I'm going to start by reducing my calorie intake. And the way I'm going to do that is my habit might be I'm going to swap starchy carbohydrates for fibrous vegetables. And I'm going to do that for 2 weeks and then see how it's progressing. And let's say that's going well. And then I progress to, okay, I'm going to start, now I'm going to focus on going to the gym more. And then I'm going to focus on getting more water or more sleep. Once I get to the point where I'm like, hey, I'm on track for my goals, or maybe I actually hit my 10 pounds of fat loss in 2 months, which right now I'm kind of on track for, then I can be like, hey, I've hit my fat loss goal. What's the next area of health that I want to tackle next? So hopefully you're getting the picture that this is really making sure that you're doing less things better. And one of the major problems with goal setting is we try to take on too much too soon. We get overwhelmed and it's too much of a lift. Doing less better has a mountain of evidence to show that it actually gets you to your goals faster, even though it seems counterintuitive. And of course, for the members of Lean Strong, it's really important to know that you can lean on me and the rest of the coaching staff for support. If you're feeling stuck with a habit or something's not working, you don't know what to do, please ask for help. That's why we're here. And I also wanted to show you how I track my habits. So this is literally a picture that I took of my notebook of how I track my habits. And I track everything every day because I want to see how many check marks I get. So these are the 5 habits I'm currently working on right now. Waking up at 7:30 a.m. consistently, including weekends. Doing a morning gain and gratitude journal. Doing continuing education. Getting either a workout or a mobility work in 6 days a week, and a protein shake in 7 days a week. So this column is the habit. This column is my goal, how many per week. This is quite straightforward, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, days of the week. And as I finish my day, I just check everything off if I did it, or an X if I didn't. You can tell I'm not doing good at waking up consistently. At the end of the week, I do my total. And this is where momentum comes in. So I want to see, hey, I did my gratitude journal 6 days this week out of 7. I did continuing education 5 out of 5. But I want to see what's my weekly total. And then the last column is my yearly total. So I just take what is my weekly total from this week, combined with my yearly total, my running total from last week, and that gives me my current running total for the year. And I find this incredibly powerful because even for things that I feel like I'm kind of crapping the bed on, like waking up consistently, even if I only get 3 or 4 this week and I'm only averaging 3 or 4 out of 7 is barely a passing grade, if that. But after 4 weeks, I'm looking at 12 plus days in that month that I did it. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not failing as hard as I thought I was. And that makes me feel better and gives me momentum, because I would argue the most important thing for your goals is you need to make sure you keep momentum. Otherwise, you just feel like you're failing and it doesn't work. So I exclusively do this because it gives me momentum and makes me motivated to do it next week. And I'm a checkbox person, so I like checking the boxes on this stuff, and I find it motivating as hell. This is just a normal book I have that's got dot paper in it. You could use a calendar on the fridge. I literally every Monday morning, I just write out this little chart for the week. It takes me 2 seconds, and this is how I track my habits, and I just do it in my workout journal. So this is the way that I do it, but you can track your habits however you like. Apps, smartwatches, pen and paper, calendar. Just find a way that you can see your cumulative wins over time. So let's do a quick recap because we covered a lot of stuff today. So 1, we have to remember that if there's something you want that you haven't achieved yet, it's either a skill gap, a belief gap, or both. If you haven't developed the skills, that's a learnable thing. If you don't have a belief that you can accomplish the thing, the answer is usually surround yourself with other people who believe the things that you want to believe. If you don't think you can get fit, surround yourself with people who believe that they can get fit, because that will become contagious. So like I talked about, there's 4 keys for success at the beginning of this. And the first one is to have the support for your goals of a powerful why. In my world, the solution to that is have a really powerful 5-year vision that in a perfect world, you would redo every 3 to 6 months. That'll remind you of your why. It'll keep it front and center, and you have a very clear direction for where you're going. Because going to the gym isn't exactly fun, but going to the gym so that your body and mind and emotional state stay healthy, so that a few years from now when you retire, you can enjoy hiking through the mountains in Italy, That's freaking motivating. Doing that 5-year vision on a regular basis keeps you motivated. Next, your goals need to be a stretch goal. So doing the 1-year goal of like writing for 5 to 7 minutes really kind of gets you in that psychological and physiological state of I can do this. It's of optimism. It's the growth mindset. And it helps you give a yardstick or a course marker on the way to your 5-year vision. Next up is there needs to be daily actions to build skills and habits. For me, I like using the triangle framework. If something's not working in my life, I revisit that triangle framework, do my 3 categories with 3 subcategories each, rate them red, yellow, and green, and figure out, that's why that's not working. Maybe and they're all really connected. So as a good example, one that I've been thinking about recently for me is I noticed that like my emotional health just wasn't feeling as good as I want to be. I didn't find I didn't feel as happy as I used to feel. Let's put it that way. But I also noticed when I did that framework that I rated relationships with my friends as, I think it was red or yellow when I did this recently. I wasn't feeling, and then it dawned on me, I wasn't feeling as happy as I used to feel because I wasn't reaching out to friends and doing social stuff nearly as much. I was just working a lot and seeing my family and then going to bed. And that's not bad. It made some of the other areas of my life green. But by doing this framework, it'll give you the relationship between the things. Because you can't expect to spend a ton of time with friends and you're going out every night and having drinks and having dinner while probably having success on your fitness and fat loss goals, if that's the case. So we're really looking at how do these 9 things interact with each other. If I've got a really crazy stretch with work and my career, might be feeling like it's a green because I've like doing things that align with my purpose and I'm putting in the work and making the money. But it might mean that relationships and health need to suffer temporarily because we're trying to keep the stepping stool in balance, not beat ourselves up for not being perfect. Again, we don't wake up in the morning pissed off that we don't have that promotion every single day. It's something that takes time to work towards, and this framework will really help. And last but not least, the 4th step here is to make sure you have momentum. And the most important thing for momentum is tracking your stuff. And I like tracking how am I doing every day, what was my total for the week, and what's my cumulative year to date. And I see that all the time. And I remember doing this a couple of years ago where one of the habits I was working on was going for more frequent walks. I can't remember what my target was, but I was falling drastically short of it. And I was about halfway through the year, and I'm like, holy shit, I should just give up on this walking goal. I'm not making any progress. And I looked at my journal, and I think I was at like 72 walks for the year. Now, I want to be clear. 72 walks out of 180 days was like half a year, was not the amount that I wanted to get. I was not hitting my goal. But I still did 73 friggin' walks. And that's a lot more than 1, 2, 0, 20. So it made me be like, oh, this is working, and it helps me stay on track. So again, 5-year vision for the why, 1-year goals for the stretch goal, the triangle framework to figure out what are the skills and habits that you need to work on, and tracking it daily to see that momentum. If you do this for a month, I guarantee that you'll feel better. So I hope you enjoyed a different approach to goal setting. I do want to say thank you so much for making it to the end of this video with me. For all the members of Lean Strong, you can of course reach out to me. You know my email, it's on the screen, but you can also talk to Alicia and the coaches. For everybody else, if you're a friend or someone who's not a member yet or a former member and you have any questions about this presentation, please shoot me an email, benjamin@lsfit.ca, and I'll do my best to help you. I know we talked a little bit big picture in this, and that was very intentional because from what I see with people, it's not the actions that they're taking that are the problem, that they're not getting to their goal. It's the fact that they're not staying consistent with their actions and they need that bigger picture vision so it has that importance for them. Again, going to the gym 3 days a week isn't really that fun. And I say that as someone who owns a gym and I still struggle to get my exercise in. But having that motivation, like for me, it's backcountry camping. I know I want to be fit enough that I can carry the gear and carry the canoe. We can go to cool remote places and see sights that we wouldn't normally see. Staying fit enough to do that, I find unbelievably motivating. So that gives me the discipline to go to the gym on a daily basis, even though I don't really love working out that much. I love what working out can do for me. So I hope this resonated with you, and reach out if you need anything. Thanks so much for your time, and talk to you soon.